Well, hello, friends. Welcome to The Way Home, Crossnore Communities for Children's Facebook Live show, as well as our podcast. My name is Holly Kessler, and I'm the Senior Director of Community Relations at Crossnore, and I'm your host for The Way Home. We are here every Tuesday afternoon talking with some of our staff members or maybe a community partner, and we enjoy talking about the work that we do, the child welfare system, ways that we're engaging in our community. So if you miss our live show, you can always rewatch it on our Facebook feed or catch the show on our YouTube channel. The podcast comes out on Fridays on our blog at crossnore.org. So there are plenty of ways to watch our show each week, and we hope that you enjoy it. Today, my guest is Kevin Redding. Kevin is the Executive Director of the Piedmont Land Conservancy, and Kevin's going to be talking about PLC's work in general and also their partnership with Crossnore. So join me in welcoming Kevin to the show. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Doing good. Glad to have you here today. Got some exciting things going on with PLC, so I can't wait for you to tell everybody about it. But why don't you start by just introducing yourself, tell us about your role at PLC, and then anything else you want to share about yourself. I saw that guitar in your background, but you told me you're not a guitar player, so.
I'm an aspiring guitar player.
There you go.
So my name's Kevin Redding. I'm the director of the Piedmont Land Conservancy. I've been in this role for 16 years now. Grew up in North Carolina, went to undergrad in North Carolina, got my master's in North Carolina. So it's really all I know is the good state of North Carolina.
Wow.
And I'm really lucky to work with the Piedmont Land Conservancy. We cover about 9 counties in the northern Piedmont, including, of course, Forsyth, where the Crossnore property is located. And we have done about 30,000 acres of land conservation. Some of that we own. Some of it we have acquired and transferred to some of the state parks, like the Mayo River State Park and Hanging Rock and Pallet Mountain. And then some we have protected with something called a conservation easement, which is a tool where the landowner still owns the property, but the easement restricts what can and cannot happen on that property.
Right.
So, a very rapidly growing part of North Carolina, so we feel motivated to protect what makes this place so special.
Yeah. And I'm a native North Carolinian too. So it's always good to meet another native. Sometimes it feels like lots
there
of
aren't
people.
A whole lot of us anymore.
I know. Well, I always say North Carolina's God's country. That's why people are coming here, So,
a great place.
So you've told us a little bit about PLC, but tell us what the mission of the Piedmont Land Conservancy is, and share with us some information about the sort of the main work that you guys do.
Okay. So our mission is very simply to protect what makes this area so great. We try to protect water quality by protecting land along streams and rivers. We protect public spaces. There are a number of parks, local parks, city parks, and state parks in our region that the public now have access to. Mm-hmm. One of our really big focuses is farmland preservation. North Carolina almost every year ranks in the top 5 or 10 of all states for the loss of farmland, especially here in the Piedmont, where our history and cultural is based on small farming. And every time we put a 40 or 50 acre farm into a subdivision, it's not growing tomatoes, it's not growing beef, it's not growing anything anymore. So we feel really motivated to protect the farms that make this area so special.
That is awesome. I really hadn't thought about the loss of farmland. North Carolina is, such a largely rural state, other than sort of the 3 pockets of the Charlotte metro area, the Triad and the Triangle. But I really hadn't thought about losing farmland to something like subdivisions.
Well, our region is kind of bisected by Interstate 40 and Interstate 85. And for nerdy people that look at stuff like this, if you project the demographics out 20, 30, 40 years, everything along that I-85, I-40 corridor between Washington and Atlanta is going to grow. Wow. Some of our rural counties in North Carolina are actually losing population because people get out of high school and they move away.
Right.
But our urban and suburban areas are growing at a very rapid pace. And mostly the Piedmont, it is urban and suburban. And our counties are growing, our cities are growing. So if we don't protect our farmland and our water quality and our trails and our way of life today, it's not going to be possible in 30 or 40 years. Those opportunities are going to be behind us, and it's too hard to go back and do.
Right. And I think that like nobody would argue that, growth in some respects is a good thing, and it's a good thing for communities to grow and to have more resources and to, just have more things for folks to do. But so it sounds to me like it's a real balance, and what PLC is helping maybe us do in the state of North Carolina is find that balance between continuing to grow our urban and suburban areas, but also preserving space that we can still use that's just open land.
Yeah, and it really boils down to quality of life. Nobody wants to live somewhere where they don't have trails and greenways to go walk on, and they can't go to a local farmer's market and buy fresh produce that was grown 20 miles down the road. And we've, up until the last 20 or 30 years, we've never really had to think about that in North Carolina, but now we certainly do. And I've got a 17-year-old, I've got a 14-year-old. Who knows if they'll end up living nearby, but if they do, I want them to have the same opportunities that I have. And one example of something that was done years ago is like, think today if Hanging Rock and Pilot Mountain State Park were privately owned and the public didn't have access to that.
Oh, yeah.
It would be a totally different world that we live in. Those are two of the most well-known state parks. And thankfully, conservation groups had the foresight to say, we've got to protect this special place. And we all benefit from it one way or the other.
Absolutely. And I really hadn't thought about that, Kevin, but when you were talking about your kids, my kids are grown, but when my kids were the age of your children, we used to go to the state park out at Carr Lake, like north of Raleigh, every summer camping with a group of friends from our church. We'd spend 10 days out there camping, and it was some of the best memories that my kids have. So I really had not thought about that. And I really appreciate now that the work that you guys are doing, because those areas could disappear over a period of time.
They could. And the importance of that is it's even greater than when you and I were young. The kids, they have to get outside and connect to nature and get off the phones. And we're as a generation of human beings, we're losing that connection to the land and the environment around us. And the more that we can protect, more educational opportunities we can provide, the better this region is going to be as a whole.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a great segue into thinking about the work that PLC has been doing with Crossnore, because we are a child serving agency. And so how exactly did PLC get involved with Crossnore?
Well, it goes back a long, long time. PLC is about 32 years old now, and almost from the very beginning, as we launched and we had board members from Winston-Salem and other areas, people would ask us, what are you going to do about the children's home property? And it was the children's home property. And we would answer very simply, well, we can't do anything unless they want to work with us. And we had some conversations over the years with some of the directors and some of the board members of the children's home. And then I think when the economic crisis hit in 2008-9, and then some of the state funding mechanisms, your world changed. It became evident that Crossnore was sitting on an extremely valuable piece of property that they couldn't necessarily sell because the community valued it so much and treasured it so much. So we started talking with the children's home, who then went through the merger with the Crossnore School.
Right.
And we were able to reach an agreement where we raised a significant amount of money, and we bought a conservation easement on the farm. So about 92 acres of the farm, the part that everybody gazes out at off of Renolda Road and treasures as they drive by, and that's how they de-stress on their ride home from the office.
Absolutely.
That is going to look pretty much like it looks in perpetuity. And the greatest fear of everybody in Winston-Salem was that one day on their drive to work or from work, there was going to be a bulldozer sitting there, and it was going to become the next subdivision or the next, strip mall or something like that. And thankfully, the two parties worked together really, really well. And a lot of fantastic, generous donors in the area stepped up and made this possible. So now we have the conservation easement. That was phase one, and then phase two is we're going to be building a public trail that will connect Reynolda Road all the way over to the back of Gillette Street behind Paisley Middle School, and that will be open to the public and sometime soon. We hope to open it April 22nd officially, and it will be open from daylight to dusk.
Right.
It's a great place for people to get out to bird. It's a great place to. A lot of people that live within a mile of that property have never actually been on the property. They've driven by it umpteen times, but they've never walked up to that ridge line and seen that incredible view of downtown Winston-Salem.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as this thing opens, it's going to very quickly become one of the most popular trails in all of Winston-Salem, if not the whole Piedmont.
I think you're right about that, Kevin. So yes, I love that story of PLC beginning to work with Crossnore. And, a lot of folks ask us as we were going through those merger years, like, what are you going to do with the land? And we were kind of like, well, nothing. Like we don't want to sell the land, right? But I know that was a fear that a lot of people had. And so this partnership with the easement really helped, I think, calm everybody's fears, about what was going to happen on that end of our property. So as you mentioned, the trail is being built. Kind of where are we at in that process with the trail?
Well, we are making progress almost. The days that it doesn't rain, we're making progress. We've got the two parking areas are very close to being complete. The one on the Reynolda Road side is right off of the farm entrance. So if you pull in the farm entrance, it's going to be just around to the right. And the one at Gillette Street, if you go to the end of Gillette Street, you run dead end into the parking area. And then the trail, which will be named the Stewart and Emma Thomas Memorial Trail that connects the two parking lots, is being named after Stewart and his stepdaughter, Emma, who we lost 11 years ago in a tragic car accident. And the Andrea Thomas is kind of spearheading that effort and doing an incredible job. And she's so excited that the community is going to have an opportunity to get out and treasure this land, to get out and exercise, to get out and connect with people and meet people. So we're really excited about it. And it's going to be great for PLC. People are going to get, it's nice to drive by conservation easement and take in the pretty view, but it's even better to get out and be able to walk across a piece of property and experience it for yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think it's going to do the same for Crossnore. People are going to get out and realize how wonderful this property is, and maybe they're going to learn more about the programming that y'all do, the great, incredible work that you do with children. So we think for the entire community, it's just a giant win for everybody.
Well, and we totally agree. One of the questions that we've had, and y'all have probably, or that we've heard, and that y'all have probably heard as well, is what about handicap accessibility? So for somebody that isn't ambulatory, are they able to access the trail?
So there will be 2 handicap parking spots at both trail entrances.
Great.
The trail, it is not, a lot of people think of a trail as a paved greenway, and this is not a paved greenway. It is a natural surface trail. So it's built sustainably. We took grade into consideration. We took steps and things like that into consideration. There will definitely be parts of the trail that most folks will be able to get out and enjoy. And then it's going to be an ongoing assessment of, is there an additional need did we not think about some certain community when we were building the trail? And we're going to continue to monitor that to make sure that as many people as possible can experience it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. We want it to be accessible to as many folks as possible. And I do appreciate you mentioning the time frame. A lot of times people ask us even about our campus. Is our campus open? And it is from dawn to dusk, basically, will be the time frame that the trail itself is open. And I think there'll be some signage up just reminding folks also that you're there to stay on the trail, just to protect the kids that live here on our campus. And so we definitely want folks to come, and we're super excited about seeing folks out here, and just ask people to remember some of the guidelines. So really.
And Holly, our experience has been once these trails become public and you've got kind of a steady flow of people out there.
Right.
People are really good at doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we can't completely rule out some nincompoop doing something that they shouldn't do, but
Right.
it kind of self-polices itself. People
Yeah.
are fairly responsible. I promise you, if something takes place, you and I are going to hear about it. And
Well, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And we have great confidence in our community and just them understanding, a lot of what goes on here. And so we're, like I said, just really excited and just wanted to remind folks that sort of those guidelines, and there'll be some signage with that information posted as well.
There will be signs at both trailheads, making sure everybody knows what the rules and regulations are.
And you also have kiosks at both trailheads, right? With more information about the trail and about the PLC. Is that correct? What kind of information?
Yeah. So there will be maps of the trail at each kiosk. There will be information, and the rules and regulations will be there.
Right.
And the great thing about the property is that it's fairly open. So almost anywhere that you're going to be on the trail, you can just look and figure out exactly where you are.
Yeah.
It's not like we're leading you through a 400-acre patch of woods that you kind of get disoriented in.
Right.
So I think the information on the signs, just very quickly, people will be able to learn a little bit about what PLC does. They'll learn a little bit about what Crossnore does, and then they'll have an opportunity to go out and experience that cool piece of property.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned the name of the trail, the Stuart and Emma Thomas Memorial Trail. And so there's that dedication, but also on the Gillette Street side, there's another dedication, right?
Correct. That parking area, thanks to the support of Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation, we have worked with the Boston Thurman neighborhood to name that trailhead after Dr. C.B. Hauser. He lived in the neighborhood for many years. He was a professor at Winston-Salem State. He served in the state legislature. He was very active in social progress and making communities connect with each other. And we couldn't think of a better person to name that trailhead after, because he's a great example of community activism and trying to make the world a better place. And that's what we think this trail is going to do, is it's going to connect people and it's going to make the world a better place.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we're really excited about that too. And was in a meeting last week with some of your staff and with some folks from the Boston Thurman neighborhood, and just super excited about that dedication on that end of the trail as well. So you mentioned briefly a while ago, but tell us again about the grand opening. It's coming up in just a few weeks.
So it is a few weeks, Holly. April 22nd. Do you know what April 22nd is, Holly?
It is Earth Day.
That's right. It's Earth Day.
Yeah.
The Earth Day was founded in 1970, so it's kind of an annual celebration to make people think about environmental awareness and conservation. So we could not think of a more appropriate date to happen. It also happens to be a Saturday this year.
Right.
So tentatively, the plans are that we will open the trail about 2 p.m. and we'll have a dedication at the Gillette Street side, and then a dedication on the Renolda parking area. And it'll be open to the public. We'll have some docents out talking about the birds that they might be able to see. We're actually going to have some information on that small stream that comes through the Crossnore property is Peters Creek.
Right.
Everybody knows where Peters Creek Parkway is. Right. Probably very few people know where Peters Creek is.
Where the actual creek is. Yeah.
We want people to understand that creek goes into the Yadkin River, which goes into the PD River, which goes into the Atlantic Ocean. So
wow.
Everything is downstream. So we need to live our lives that way.
Absolutely.
So we will have some education. We're trying to work with City Council and the county commissioners to have some elected folks out to help dedicate this. Awesome. I think my friend Brett Loftus is going to be there to help kick this off.
Yes,
and
I think he is.
Andrea Thomas will be there as well to celebrate the opening of the Stuart and Emma Thomas Memorial Trail.
Well, that is terrific. And we'll certainly be posting about that on our social media. I know you guys will, as well, as we get closer to April 22nd. I mean, April 22nd is a kind of a big day in our community. There's the Earth Day Festival out on the fairgrounds, and then you could visit that and then come to the trail opening and just spend a great way to just celebrate Earth Day all the way around.
I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Kevin, we are so appreciative of everything that you guys are doing in our community and also here at Crossnore. Tell folks how they can find out more about Piedmont Land Conservancy.
Well, we try to keep our website up to date. It's piedmontland.org. We have several social media feeds. We have an Instagram. We also have a Facebook feed, so folks can keep a little more up to date with upcoming activities and hikes that we may be leading. And we have a lot of stuff in the springtime, wildflower hikes, trail hikes, lots of chances for people to get out and visit some of these properties that we've helped protect. So we'd love to have you join us. We'd love to have you follow us. And we're always grateful for the good work that Crossnore does in our community and for so many kids that really need it. And I've been really impressed working with Brett and Holly and the leadership team. Y'all do such a good job, and it's such an important thing that you do, and we all want to support you as well.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words. We appreciate our community partners and really, really appreciate the work you guys are doing out here. So thanks so much for being with us today.
Have a great day.
Friends, as I have thanked Kevin for being with us today, let me also say thanks to each of you who are watching or listening. We so appreciate the opportunity to tell you about Crossnore and today about Piedmont Land Conservancy and the upcoming trail opening. For more information, please visit our website at crossnore.org or follow us on our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. That's it for today, but I hope you'll join us again next week right here on The Way Home.